Good day everyone. So you may have been told that it's a bad idea to run Nilou Bloom teams in the first half of the current Spiral Abyss, and this is basically because we've got an enemy here on the final floor that has only a Hydro Aura on him. It's a single target enemy, so if you use something like Nilou Bloom teams, you're only going to rely on your Dendro units to trigger Bountiful Cores. You're not going to get as many because Dendro is interacting with Hydro, and therefore just abandon the whole thing and run Nilou Bloom teams on the second half. But as you can see in the background, it is pretty easy to deal with the enemy. Now, a lot of you might say, well, hey, that's using a C6 Nilou Bloom team, but don't worry, I've got you covered. So here is a C0 Nilou Bloom team. Notice the account UID at the bottom has changed, and what we're going to do is run with this team, and I'll show you exactly how to beat this enemy in about 70 seconds. That is more than enough time to go on to the second halves. Now, my Nilou Bloom team, over one you can see on this account, is one that has progressively gotten better and better over time. You can see I've found better artifacts, I've got higher talent levels, I've got more constellations for Collei. So compared to where this team was last year, things have certainly improved. This team is still not at its maximum potential, but with the way things are, we can pretty much get very good results. So you can see here what I'm going to do against the enemy is do something which a lot of people seem to ignore, and that is trigger the maximum amount of Dendro Core explosions per enemy in an interval. You see, when it comes to Bountiful Bloom Cores, you can only hit an enemy in a 0.5 second interval with 2 of these cores, so it doesn't matter if you're able to generate more cores because this is a single target boss. And you can see there are multiple instances where we just trigger bountiful cores again and again and again within a certain interval, and that just means we can hit the enemy very carefully. Now, if you've noticed in my gameplay, I always try to use Nahida's elemental skill to try and target the little enemies there in the background. If you do this, you'll get the Hydro Tulpa to effectively stand still in the middle for a very long time before he either rushes to one of the 4 corners in the map like he's done here, and all you need to do is just keep on triggering cores. You can see a sacrificial bow on Collei being very useful, because that's the key thing to beating up this enemy, having a high uptime on your Collei burst. And there you go, as promised, that is about roughly 70 seconds. Now, what we're going to do is do this again and slightly fast, and I'll show you the second half as well to prove to you that you do have indeed enough time to beat this chamber. So doing it once is obviously not good enough. We're going to do it again, and I actually have like 5 other clips going through this just to make sure that it is relatively consistent if I recommend this to you and you want to copy what I'm doing. But you can see the strategy is very clear. The jellyfish healing with Kokomi, the ability to constantly dash and iframe, using charge attacks with Nahida. So basically what I'm doing with Nahida is I'm doing normal attacks, elemental skill, charge attacks. All of these things contribute to just giving a massive amount of Dendro onto the enemy. And if you play with Collei and you try and get a very high uptime on her elemental burst, then you're just going to destroy this enemy and his health, despite the fact that it's the Dendro units triggering the Bountiful Blooms. And that's just what I love about this team. There is quite a lot of flexibility. In fact, from an aura management perspective, because you don't have annihilating auras, which if you can just consult my advanced Nilou Bloom team guide on this, because you don't have any annihilating auras or like dead periods where there are no auras, you can effectively just have maximum uptime on your Dendro Core reactions, and that leads you to having a far higher DPS than what people give it credit for. You see, the secret behind the Nilou Bloom teams is just to have a consistent throughput of Dendro and Hydro, such that you can trigger as many cores but not too many cores in a given instance and get a consistent damage output over time. That is the strength behind Nilou Bloom teams. If you try to put too much Dendro or too much Hydro, you'll effectively end up with a loss of DPS. I had a debate with the guys on the r/Nilou mains about this and about the aura management of Nilou Bloom teams, and they didn't understand a lot of the fundamental concept. People that are supposed to be like highly experienced Nilou Bloom players didn't get some of these concepts. In fact, they told me that the GC sim results and some of the results that I presented just had like too low of a Dendro Aura uptime, and I told them, but you can even see here in the sim that we're generating too many cores, sometimes even in an interval, which just leads to a loss of DPS. And it's all about careful aura management. But in any case, that is just a little personal something that I wanted to add to this video. Regardless, it's easy to beat this with the Nilou Bloom teams, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And yeah, from my side, thank you so much for watching, and let me know what you think down below. Cheers.